Hello, welcome to this program logic model presentation. Today I'm going to talk about obesity, specifically the intertwined social and economic relationship of obesity and poverty. And then I'm going to tell you about a new program for the Ontario Bariatric Network called New Journeys. Despite cultural norms that stigmatize obesity and strong evidence of its adverse health effects, the prevalence of obesity continues to grow. Currently, the highest prevalence of obesity in Canada is in men. Age is also related to obesity, as people aged 35 to 64 are the most likely to be obese. Southwestern Ontario is on the list of highest level of obesity by province. A report published last year said that 1 in 10 premature deaths among Canadian adults aged 20 to 64 is directly attributable to obesity. This report also said that obesity is the leading cause of type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, arthritis, cancer, and other health problems. The Standing Senate Committee on Social Affairs, Science, and Technology reported that obesity costs Canada between $4.6 billion and $7.1 billion annually in healthcare and lost productivity. Out of the 5.3 million adults living with obesity in Canada, 1 in 3 of these people are going to require medical support to change their weight and their lifestyle. So there's a lot of available treatments out there. For obese people, the gold standard is bariatric surgery through the Ontario Bariatric Network. Due to the strong correlation of obesity and poverty, many people are not eligible for bariatric surgical programs due to financial barriers. In 2016, the Standing Senate Committee on Social Affairs, Science, and Technology put out a call for Health Canada to work with provinces and territories on coordinated policy changes across the country, specifically to help vulnerable populations to adopt healthier lifestyles. We know now that obesity is not caused simply by a lack of willpower. To quote from the report card on access to obesity treatments in Canada, beyond its effects on overall health and well-being, obesity also affects people's social and economic well-being due to the pervasive social stigma associated with it. As common as other forms of discrimination, including racism, weight bias and stigma can increase morbidity and mortality. Obesity stigma translates into significant inequities in access to employment, healthcare, and education, often due to widespread negative stereotypes that persons living with obesity are lazy, unmotivated, or lacking in self-discipline. The Ontario Bariatric Network is a provincial program with dedicated bariatric specialty clinics run inside of hospitals that offer physician-supervised medical programs with interdisciplinary teams for obesity management. They're made up of social workers, dietitians, doctors, nurse practitioners, surgeons, researchers, and a variety of other staff. However, the cost associated with these programs is not covered under any provincially funded benefits. So there is a significant inequality in access to bariatric surgery in Canada. New Journeys aspires to provide support services to people with obesity who are experiencing poverty to create equity in the healthcare system. The goal of New Journeys is to provide supports, subsidize preparation and maintenance products, and psychoeducational groups to individuals experiencing poverty who are obese in order to improve health conditions in communities in Ontario. The program objectives include to increase support for essential preparation and maintenance products, to increase the mental wellness of people with obesity from poverty, and to increase ability for people with obesity from poverty to participate in a surgical bariatric program. In order to start the New Journeys program at each of the Ontario Bariatric Network locations, that would require a whole bunch of money from the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care, a grant from Nestle Health Science, since bariatric patients do get prescribed Nestle products, and that is the only products that the OBN uses, a grant that would subsidize OptiFast and OptiSource for low-income individuals would decrease their cost and therefore remove that barrier. So a bariatric surgical program would be feasible for them. Because of that access, they would have access, they would be able to pass the assessment, and the long-term impacts are that, obviously their weight would decrease, and ultimately they would have improved health conditions. Funding from the ministry would also cover 2 full-time social workers at each Ontario Bariatric Network location. This would enable there to be monthly group therapy sessions called Preparing for Your New Journey, where 6 sessions would be available if patients meet a certain criteria. One of them would be low income. So the idea is that maybe with a little bit of extra therapy, people who have barriers to bariatric surgical programs would have better access just with a little bit more help than maybe some of the other bariatric patients. Increased mental wellness means better access to the program, which means completing the surgery is increased, and then the decrease in weight, which ultimately leads to improved health conditions for people with obesity from poverty. As I mentioned earlier, obesity and poverty are intertwined. For this reason, the Government of Canada must declare obesity as a chronic illness. This status would guide policy change and in turn increase health in Ontario communities. Adding extra mental wellness supports for vulnerable patients creates equity in healthcare that the Ontario Bariatric Network strives to achieve. When applying to a bariatric surgical program, Phase 1 is going to an information session, and within the first 10 minutes, the nurse tells you that if you cannot afford $253 a week for the OptiFast preparation before surgery for anywhere from between 1 and 6 weeks, that you're not eligible for the program. They also state that you have to take multivitamins for the rest of your life. Well, Nestle just happens to make OptiFast and OptiSource, both the preparation and the maintenance for after bariatric surgery. So since Nestle has such a stake in the Ontario Bariatric Network and patients are dependent on those products, if Nestle produced a grant that would allow patients who experience poverty to have access to low cost or free, ideally, OptiFast and OptiSource, then that would remove one of the biggest barriers to participating and being successful in a bariatric surgery program. So just as a little social justice side note, since Nestle's making so much money and doing so much research and pretty much using bariatric patients as guinea pigs, I think that a yearly grant to the program would kind of be fair.